Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today, I wanted to stop by to talk about what I'm doing lately. One of the things I'm doing is I'm enjoying listening to Father Thomas Dubay talk about contemplation and John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila. Father Dubay traveled around the country for many years, and he talked about, he did retreats and talked about, especially about contemplation, contemplative prayer. And as far as I'm concerned, he's the best. He has many books out, but his best book, probably, or the most well-known one, is Fire Within. Fire Within. And it's about Teresa of Avila and St. John of the Cross and the Gospel on prayer. Father Thomas Dubay, very nice man. Now, he has a couple of videos on YouTube. You can watch him there. There is some audio available. He did a series of programs, 30-minute programs on a whole series on prayer, a whole series on contemplative prayer or contemplation, an entire series on John of the Cross, and an entire series on Teresa of Avila. Each one was like 12 or 13 or 14 episodes. They're just fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, if you want to read about contemplative prayer, something that has a bit of intellectual substance to it, and someone who seems to get it, who does get it, then he's the one. So his audio is not that easy to find. There are also some videos available where the series they were on the EWTN, and so they were done for television, but the audio is available. But it's hard to find. And like I said, there are some DVDs which you can actually buy and they're offered by, I think, EWTN and a couple of other places. They're not the easiest to find, but they're well worth it. If you're interested in contemplative prayer, that he's very good. But anyway, I was reading what he had to say about attachments. And we all know that we're not supposed to be attached to the things of the world. The spiritual life is a life of letting go. Letting go. Letting go of our resentments. Letting go of our hatreds and our grudges. Letting go of our angers. Letting go of our selfish goals and ambition. Like that. And when you let go of them, you become freer. Now, you can't make yourself let go. How many of you, for example, it's the old idea of you make a New Year's resolution, I'm going to lose weight. And then you start dieting, but then usually what happens, you fall off the wagon and then you're back where you started. Or you give up eating, you give up soft drinks and you take up chewing gum or something. And so you see what I mean? So it's almost impossible to make any progress on your own. And if you do, it's an effort. It's a struggle. It's a willful thing. But see, the problem with that is that thereby your will, see, even if you were to give up eating too much, and instead you substituted reading the Bible, I'm just making something up. Well, then you would be addicted to that. And it would be, but it all stemmed from a sort of, I hate to use the word selfish, but basically a selfish thing. You want to be better, you want to be nicer, you want to whatever. It's much better if it just happens of itself, that the soul yearns for God. See, that's about all you can do, is yearn for God. Yearn, and even if you don't know that it's God, yearn for something good. Like I always say, something pure, something noble. Yearn for that and seek it. Search for it. And the sincere soul won't accept any substitute. Yeah, you try this religion and this practice and that practice, and this self-help and that self-help, and this group and that group, and this church and that church. You try them all. Something's missing. You try it for a while. You may even get caught up with it, especially when you're young. You get caught up with it for a while, but then gradually you drift away. You see, it's not, there's something missing. And you keep searching until you find the real thing. And the real thing is the touch of God. And you begin to see the truth in his light. He turns up the light. I always say he turns up the dimmer switch a little bit. And now you see, oh, I hated my mom. And I'm still resenting my dad. I still have a grudge against my dad for failing me. And I'm still angry at my brother. And I'm still judging. See what I mean? You see that. It's painful to see it. But now you're seeing it in God's light. And instead of trying to duck it, instead of trying to push it under the carpet, instead of trying to deny it, instead of resenting seeing it, you're willing to see it. And it's a little bit painful, or very painful, but you see it. And now you're glad to see it. You're glad to come clean. And that's the beginning. See? And it's God's will. He reaches down, he says, okay, looks like she's ready. All right. He turns up the light a little bit. Now you see. And the first thing you're going to see, you're not going to see angels and shining lights and beautiful spiritual principles. You know, what you're going to see is that you resented your mom and your dad. And you've been phony with people. And you've been impatient. That's what you're going to see. And if you could bear the pain of seeing it, then you will also then see that God doesn't hate you, that he just wanted you to see that you've been wrong and be sorry. There's a beautiful thing about being sorry. It's beautiful. It's rare. It's, the real thing. Sometimes little kids are really sorry, but then other people mess it up. But so that's how it begins. It begins with him. He begins it. All you yearn for him, then he takes over. So when it comes to these attachments, so now we're getting back to attachments again, he makes it possible. So he gives you grace. He makes it possible for you to let go of the resentment. And mainly because you see that he loves you. You see that he doesn't hate you. He just wants you to be sorry for your hatreds of others, see? And then when you see that you're forgiven. And you see your own wrong in the light of his goodness. You see your resentments in the light of his love. The contrast is painful. A lot of people, they don't want to see it, so they run. But when you want to see it, now it's over. You've capitulated to him. You never had really made the decision. Yeah, you said you may have made some decisions here or there, but you never really had. You never made the decision. And now you do, and it's not even a decision. It's a yielding. That's all. Just a yielding. Yeah, I'm wrong. I see that I'm wrong. And I'm sorry. That's it. That's the beginning of it. Then he takes over. But what I wanted to tell you about is what I was reading this morning. So I started talking about attachments. And so I talked about, so the first ones you're going to have to give up are resentment. and grudges and angers and goals, something that you want too much. You wanted a happy home, or you want to have money because when you were a kid you were poor, or you're trying desperately to be a good mom because your mom was no good, and you try so hard willfully and you mess it all up. So those are the first things you have to get. Those are the attachments that you have to give up. Not to mention attachments to wrong ideas, but you didn't know any better. But now, in the light of truth, you see. You see the truth? Oh, I see. You could just let go of the error. See how simple? You don't have to do anything. You see the truth about the error, and the error gives you up. See? There's no struggle. There's no willfulness involved. And so there's no guilt. Everything you've ever done has made you guilty. Why? Because of your will. So now here I want to get to this. I'm never going to get to it. Here's Thomas Dubay. Here's what he says. He's talking about the problem with attachments. Attachments are impediments to prayer and awareness of God. This result of attachments needs little explanation. Each of us is sinner enough to know well from experience that a selfish clinging focuses our attention on ourself and draws us away from the divine presence. It prevents us from preferring what is more pleasing to God instead of our own pleasure. Many, perhaps most, of the distractions we suffer in prayer are due to these disordered concerns and desires. See, we're more concerned with our pleasure than in what pleases God. See? So now do you get it? You remember what Paul said? He said, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it for the glory of God. So now do you see why our little attachments to things and our fussy selfishness, that's what it is, selfishness. We want our drink made a certain way, and if it's not made just right, we become resentful. When we have our little things that are too important to us. Now you can see. Don't try to force yourself to give them up. Don't struggle with them. Don't browbeat yourself. Don't resent seeing the truth. Don't try to do anything at all. Just see it. See it. Not all of them at once, but one at a time. All of a sudden, you'll just see. You'll say, oh, I'm a little attached to that. Just see it. And that seeing is magic. Before you know it, one day you'll notice you're just not attached to it anymore. You could take it or leave it. See, it doesn't mean you have to give everything up. You don't have to give up your latte, or you don't have to give up some diversion that you like, some little sport or some little movies that you like to watch or something. That doesn't mean necessarily that you have to give them up. Some you may. But mostly, you just see that you were attached to them, and now you can take it or leave it, and now you're free to take it or to leave it. You see what I mean? So now here's something else that I saw. See, that's one of the beauties of the spiritual life, of realizing you see something and it's so delicate. You never saw it before, and it's such a joy. So for many years, I kind of been wondering about why most meditations are they don't lead to God. So that's the bottom line. They don't lead to God. Who knows what they lead to, but they don't lead to God. A proper meditation or contemplation, let's use the word contemplation or whatever term you want to use, is becoming still and waiting upon God and looking unto God. most meditations, they don't lead there, and I always so I kinda saw why. Often, for example, there is, an emphasis on there's always almost always, visualization, and I see what the problem with that is because it's being lo because it's hypnotic, it pulls you into the imagination, and that's the problem we all have, we're lost in our imagination, we're lost in our thoughts, in thinking and planning and scheming and daydreaming and away. You won't find God down there. You find God when you stand back from your thoughts and imagining. So I saw that. So that's pretty obvious. Another thing I always wondered about was this focusing on breathing. So many of these meditations, they focus on breathing. I was always wondering, well, what's that? First of all, what are they up to? What are they up to, you know? But not only that, but what's wrong with it? I finally saw it this morning when I was reading Father Thomas Dubay talking about attachments. See, anything that focuses on you, see, instead of on God, focusing on you and what you want and not on God and on your feelings and how you're feeling and what you're feeling, instead of on focusing on God, has a little selfish, a subtle selfishness to it. And that in itself is enough to defeat, to keep you from finding God. So that's the problem with distraction, goals, all those things. But can you see the subtlety of focusing on breathing, on yourself and how you feel, and on willing something, willing to re, tr- to either to control it in a certain way or to focus on not control. See, it pulls you into yourself and in a focusing on self. Whenever somebody wants to get to you, what do? They focus on you. They say, "Hey, you jerk," and that's guaranteed to get to you. You get resentful or angry or outraged. How dare she say that about me? See? And then you start thinking about yourself. "Oh, I'm this and I'm that and I'm good and they're no good." See, it's focusing on you. So it's always you. It's the appeal. Um, what's the word in, what's the word I want? I can't think of it. The ad hominem. That's what it is. It's always an ad hominem. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but I can see that focusing on breathing or see, I can just see that there's something subtly self-directed about it. It's very subtle, but I see it. So, Thomas Dubay, very good. Um, my meditation is very good, very helpful. It's free. I give it away. I made a new one, incidentally. I made a brand new one. E Every so often, I make a new meditation. I don't change anything. I just say it, hopefully a little bit better, a little simpler, and also with better audio than I did years ago. See? That's all. So there it is. It's on my website, sheddingshackles.com. And I think it's nice. Couldn't hurt. Give it a try.